And hello there. I know we get asked questions all the time about what's the pros and cons of living in the Dayton, Ohio region. Now, I'm native to the area. I was born and raised here, lived most of my life. But the difference is that I have lived outside of the area. So as an adult, I moved away and lived in a couple of other states for a number of years and ultimately came back to Ohio. So I think that my perspective of what are the pros and cons for living in the Dayton region is probably beneficial for you to understand from a different perspective. Somebody who's from the area originally, but who has also lived outside of the area can give you a fair comparison as to maybe what is really pros and cons. And of course, there's always two sides to the story. Another man's trash is another man's treasure. I think it's the same thing. What I find as a benefit, you may find as a downfall, and vice versa. So ultimately, it really depends on what you're looking for as to what is the benefit or where you specifically may want to live. That, I think, is our number one top reason for a pro for coming to the Dayton, Ohio area, because we do have a wide range of communities, neighborhoods, but specific communities outside and in and around the Dayton, Ohio region that allows for a different vibe, a different lifestyle, a different quality of life, and benefits. So if you are very specific about what you want to be able to do, enjoy, whether it's work related or after work or just in general, then there's a good chance we have a community that is going to fit your needs. So to me, I think our number one top reason pro for moving to the Dayton, Ohio region is simply that we have a number of communities that offer a variety to fit each of person's particular lifestyle choices, desires, and needs. So that being said, let's really get into this, the pros and cons of living in the Dayton area. And of course, Dayton as a city is a very broad range name. If we're talking about the city of Dayton or we're talking about those outer communities, there is a huge difference from one to the other, can be, especially in particular for those things that you might be looking for. But we're going to generalize this and say the Dayton region, and for the number one second reason for a pro is traffic. We have less traffic than our metro counterparts, Cincinnati or Columbus or Cleveland. Yes, there is traffic that you have to deal with sometimes in our Dayton area if you're traveling at those high traffic volume times. If you're going down I-75 corridor, yes, there's going to be traffic if you're in that time crunch. But if you are flexible with your schedule, like me, then the benefit is that you can take alternate routes. So that pro and con is that there is less traffic than if you were in a bigger metropolitan city. Dayton specifically has I-75 corridor, which gives us easy access. But if it is backed up, we have multiple ways to get to the same area. So if I'm in the south area and I need to go north and 75 is clogged up, it's easy for me to jump over to 48 and take the state route. And we've got 42 as a state route. We've got 741. We've got 49. That's a state route as well. So our state route system is actually very, very beneficial, and it helps to avoid the cluster that may come from accidents on the highway. So pros and cons there, that's something you might want to consider. In fact, we typically say we are a 15 to 30 minute commute area. If you're in one far reaching community and you need to get to the other far end of the community, likely you can be there in 15 to 30 minutes. So that's something for you to think about if you are living here, moving here, and considering what's your drive time. You probably get a little bit of better quality of life because the drive time will be much less than if you were in Cincinnati or Columbus or Cleveland. And let's talk about the weather. This is one of those things that's pro and con, but to me, it's the number 3 item on the list. And for the most part, Ohio, Dayton region, we're in that southwest little center. And if you are south of that 70 corridor, and you probably can get away with having less snowfall and less precipitation and maybe benefit from the climate changes that have been going on, if that's such a thing that you can benefit from. But we do still get some cold temperatures, and we do see obviously extreme weather with the spring outbreaks and tornadoes. So if you are a fair weather person, Dayton probably is going to fit your needs, that you can get through the majority of the year and not be in dire straits or uncomfortable. You're going to have a couple of weeks that you have to bundle up really well. Layers are important. But for the most part, coat, scarf, the typical things there. As long as you're getting into a heated car or you have nice warm heat in the house, you're going to be okay. If you work outside, it's going to be cold, and you just have to dress appropriately. But I think in the extreme side of things, if you compare Dayton versus, say, Cleveland, which is further north up, it has a lot of lake effect snow. It gets a greater amount of snow. In that respect, we definitely win on the weather side of it. And then last but not least, I want to say that cost of living is really the biggest driving factor that we see in our area. And it's the Ohio as a state, but specifically our Dayton region has been able, even though our housing market is tight, inventory is low, and our prices have gone up, we are still well below the median price range nationally. We're certainly well below the median range in most of our state. And that benefits us because we still have the benefit of a lot of job opportunities, employment with the base or in healthcare, or secular with also colleges in the area. These are all the things that are reasons why I would tell you this is all benefit. Now, a lot of people will talk about, well, it's a sleepy little town. I wouldn't say that it's a sleepy little town. We definitely have a performing arts district that is very active in the Dayton area. You can see Broadway quality shows and experience that if that's your thing. But we are not a New York City vibe where you can be 24/7 out and all go around. We aren't a Miami, Florida vibe where it's beach weather. Honestly, if it was, I would be a happy gal. But we do have opportunities, and one of the biggest things in that respect is not only our performance art districts, but also our festivals and community spirit that comes alive, again, because of those multiple communities that we have. These are the biggest reasons why I'm going to say these are all pros for you to be able to come to, select, and choose the Dayton region as your place to live. Now, cons, let's be honest, there's got to be some negatives. If you are taking the opposite of what I've said as the positives as your negatives, that is certainly your choice. But if we're speaking specifically as to negatives, I would say that the negative, again, is going to be if you are talking the city of Dayton specific, you are probably looking at a blighted area that has seen some issues with policing and crime and or inventory that is delinquent, meaning that they haven't been upkept. And so the revitalization that we keep wanting to come into our city to actually make a difference keeps falling short. And that's going to take some real structured approach from our city government to say, hey, we're going to address this once and for all and stop wasting the federal money that we've had in the past that really hasn't benefited us. I'm the person who's a spokesperson for our investor community, for our opportunities that housing is available if we would just be given the opportunity to make those improvements to structures that are existing. And I think that's probably the biggest benefit for our Dayton specific that is considered our con. And obviously we've had a lot of industry that has left the area that were long committed ties to our Dayton region. And I think those were fails on prior city officials who allowed for NCR to leave, who allowed for Mead Corporation to leave. You know, these were companies that were really driving forces in our community, especially in our downtown area. And shame on us for letting them get out of here. We should have made it opportunities available to keep them. And anyway, change comes along, and so there we go. That I'm going to tell you is probably our most important and most impactful negative impact for Dayton specific. Getting outside of that, our local communities. Yes, you're going to have communities who pretty much at 8 o'clock at night are closed up and there's nothing really going on. But if Midwest life fits your needs and you're looking for that quality of life, that's time for you to be home with your family, by yourself, doing whatever you want to do. If that's the case and it works for you, again, it's going to be something that works specifically either for you or against those ideas that you want. But I think with our 20 or so connected communities around the Dayton region, we're going to be able to find a good fit for you and your specific lifestyle. And the other side about it is you know what? Cincinnati's an hour-ish drive. Columbus, an hour-ish, hour 15. So if you really want what you think is the nightlife of those cities, you could go spend the weekend out and still come back home to your quiet and comfortable, affordable life here in the Dayton region. Hopefully this helps you, gives you a different perspective. And if you have questions or want to know something specific, feel free to comment below and I will get back with you. Thanks so much.